and welcome to your English news broadcast live on ERi-TV. It's exactly 10:30 p.m. on Eritrea's local time from our headquarters at Asmara with your domestic and international news in brief. I'm Zahra Badouri. But first we'll begin with your major headlines for this broadcast. President Isaias Afwerki receives Indian Minister of External Affairs. Calls for earnesting effort to develop beef farming and more on renovation of schools in Shikati. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan clash erupted between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan border. EU court largely upholds a record for 4 billion antitrust fine against Google. Welcome to your domestic in brief. President Isaias Afwerki in the afternoon hours of today, 15 September, met and held talks at State House with Mr. Valamveli Muralidharan, Minister of State of External Affairs of the Republic of India. President Isaias underlined in the meeting that India is in need a genuine partner with Eritrea. The two sides expressed that education, health, energy, and agriculture are among the priority sectors of cooperation between the two countries. The two sides also agreed to strengthen cooperation in diplomatic sectors and in global forums. The meeting was attended by Foreign Minister Mr. Osman Saleh and Presidential Advisor Mr. Yamana Gabrab on Eritrean sides and Mr. Subhash Chad, Ambassador of India to Eritrea. Mr. Valamveli Muralidharan also met and held talks with Minister Osman Saleh, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Mr. Valamveli Muralidharan arrived in Asmara for an official visit yesterday, 14th of September. Migrating beef farming experts in Agurdat subzone called for earnesting effort to develop a beef farming activity within the subzone, indicating that the subzone is conducive to both in climate and natural resources for beef farming. Mr. Kohob Fitzum from the Office of Agriculture in the subzone said that a number of migrating beef farmers are coming to the area and are collecting abundant honey. Mr. Kohob further said that this year alone 500 beef farmers came to the subzone and called on the farmers to take advantage of the advances being provided by the migrating beef farming and experts for better outcome. The farmers on their part said that they are following the advice being provided by experts and are actively engaged in beef farming activities. On your final domestic, the residents of Shikati Administrative Area Dubarwa subzone have renovated the elementary and junior schools in their area. Mr. Mahari Debbas, administrator of the administrative area, indicated that the popular renovation campaign that started on 25 July included renovation of 21 classrooms as well as water pipes and electricity installation. According to members of the parents' committee of the school, the residents, besides physically taking part in the renovation of the process, have raised about 400,000 nakfa for the program. The members of the committee also said that there is plan to add more classrooms with a view to accommodate more students. Commanding the initiative taken by the residents of Shikati Administrative Area, Mr. Abraham Yosef from Dubarwa subzone expressed expectation that the initiative will influence others to follow the noble example. Up next on your international, stay tuned for more. On your global line, Kyrgyz and Tajik borders guard have exchanged fire after a dispute over the border between the two Central Asian nations, officials on both sides reported. The clashes on Wednesday, which took place on the eve of a regional security body meeting and against the background of fighting between Russia and Ukraine, as well as Azerbaijan and Armenia, started after Kyrgyz border guard accused the Tajikis of taking position at a part of the border that has not been demarcated. The Tajik said that in a statement that Kyrgyz border guards opened unprovoked gun and mortar fire on their outpost, killing one border guard and injuring another two, the RIA Novist news agency reported. Kyrgyzstan did not immediately report any casualties. However, more than one-third of the two countries' 1,000 kilometers border remains disputed. Both Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan are allied with Russia and host Russian military bases, but fighting over border issues is frequent, and last year almost resulted in an all-out war between the former Soviet republics. Russia called on the Central Asian allies to take urgent measures to bring the situation on border between the two countries and back under control. The IRA also reported again on Wednesday, citing a foreign ministry resource. A similar clash in June also killed a Tajik border guard. Serious escalations are rare, however, but fears of a wider conflict steers last year, when dozens died in the worst confrontation between the pair in more than 30 years of post-Soviet independence, as reported. On your final report, the European Union's second highest court on Wednesday overwhelmingly upheld the EU's record finding against Google over its Android operating system for mobile phones, slightly reducing the fee for technological reasons. In a statement, the EU's General Court said it largely confirms the Commission's decision that Google imposed unlawful restrictions on manufacturers of Android mobile devices in order to benefit its search engine. The court, however, said that the fine should be slightly reduced to 4.125 billion euros instead of 4.3 billion euros decided by the Commission in 2018 after reviewing the duration of the infringement. The levy remains the EU's biggest ever, despite Google's arguments that the Commission case was unfounded and falsely relied on accusations it imposed in search engines and Chrome browser on Android phones. The company also pushed the case that the EU was unfairly blind to the strengths of the company Apple, which imposes or gives clear preference to its own services such as Safari and iPhone. Google insisted that downloading rival apps was only a click away and that customers were in no way tied to Google products on Android. The EU and complementants responded that Google used contract with phone makers in the early days of Android to stifle rivals. However, the decision by the General Court is not necessarily the end of the story, but also both sides can return to the EU's highest court, the European Court of Justice, for a final say on the fine, which was the equivalent of $5 billion when leaved. Dear viewers, that is all for now with your domestic and international news in brief. Until we are back with some more news, stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. But until then, this is a recap of your today's major headlines. President Isaias Afwerki receives Indian Minister of External Affairs and calls for earnesting effort to develop bee farming and re-innovation of schools in Shikati Dwarwa. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan clashes erupted between both border guards. EU court largely upholds record for $4 billion antitrust fine against the Google search. Thanks for watching and have a nice one.